All right, we are live. Welcome to the fourth episode of the 49 Carats podcast. We have an exciting show for you today. I'm Angelina Martin, my co-host, Stephanie Sanchez.
Yeah, sorry.
At
Stragasaurus. And
you already know.
Angie, you got a new Twitter name since the last time. Since our last episode.
Wow. So I had the same Twitter since 2009 when I joined Twitter. It was Angie Sunshine. And now, as you can see, it's Ange Writes, because that's what I do. I write. It should have been Ange Talks, to be honest, but that's a different story. Anyway, we have an exciting show today. We have Javier Vega here, the founder of 49ers Goldmine, the pod father from the Fourth and Gold podcast himself. Javi, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you.
Thanks for having me. You guys always oversell. Everyone oversells. I'm just a regular guy.
Everyone loves Javi.
Angie writes, but she hasn't written anything for the website. That's the thing that kind of blows my mind, right?
Hey, but I do make sure that those commas are in place before it gets published.
Yes, the commas are always in the correct place. Yeah, of course, ladies, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure to work with you guys so far with the website and everything else, and look forward to doing much, much more. I think we're all just excited for this draft to be over.
Yes.
Over.
Yeah, it's not even here yet, and we're ready for it to be over.
Yeah.
Yeah, how many days till the draft, Steph?
8 now.
8.
Steve Young days.
Steve
7
Young
in
days.
the wake up,
perfect. Woo! So we have a fun show lined up. Let's run through the agenda really quick. We're going to, as always, talk about this week in 49ers history. That's something fun that we do. I love that. We're going to talk about the latest 49ers news. We're going to do draft talk with Javi, and then we're going to get into a Twitter tizzy if we have time and take some questions that you guys all sent us on Twitter. I know everyone had a lot of questions for Javi. He's a popular and very smart guy. So thanks for sending those in. We'll get started right away with this week in 49ers history. And Steph sent this to me when we were planning the episode, and I shed a tear. Steph, why don't you tell them what happened this week in 49ers history?
Okay, so we have 2 this week, actually. So the first, they're both actually
interesting.
They're both kind of sad, actually. So on this day, and sorry, I didn't write the date. I suck. But
I got it.
Oh, you do have the date?
I do.
The Joe Montana one?
Oh, no, never mind.
Okay, so first one is Joe Montana on this day was traded to the Kansas City Chiefs.
That is terrible.
Right? We just start the episode off on just this terrible note.
Feels great, baby.
Oh, yes. And we have a soundboard. That's why we invited Javi. That's the real reason. How crazy to have your star quarterback, traded. Well, obviously it was more complicated than that, but
yeah,
that was funny during the Super Bowl last year when he was all trying not to pick a side and stuff. And it's like, dude, come on, you're 49ers through and through. But
hot take, Steve Young's better than Joe Montana. Oh, well.
I mean, to some that might be a hot take. Sorry if you can hear my Frenchie. She's attacking the cat over in the corner, but Chanel. They like to go at it. It's fine. This is quarantine for you.
We love dogs. We love dogs over here.
Anyway, so great.
See, the guys agree. More talented. Number 8, exactly.
Hold on, Steph. Tell them the other one. I'm gonna get this dog out of here.
All right. So the second one this week in 49ers history, April 23rd, 2005, the 49ers drafted Alex Smith with the number 1 overall pick. And as we know, this day that day in history is especially, makes us feel a type of way because Alex Smith just announced his retirement.
Pain.
Which makes us all pretty sad.
Yeah.
And honestly, go ahead, Javi.
No, Alex was much better. Obviously, once Harbaugh showed up, guy got a raw deal. Those 7 different offensive coordinators, 5 head coaches, whatever the number was, is ridiculous. And then, he went on a really good run with Andy Reid in Kansas City. And then before he got injured, they were 6-2 when he was with Washington. So he was, for a guy to go through what he went through, and then to kind of have that much left in the tank to be a winner and get his teams to the playoffs consistently in Kansas City. I don't think he threw a touchdown to a wide receiver, and they knocked him for that for the 1 year. So
yeah,
the guy was relentless, and we had Adam Snyder on our podcast, and he was like, if anyone's going to come back from this injury, it's going to be Alex. And, I doubted him. I mean, I shouldn't doubt professional athletes, but Jesus Christ, he came back and he led his team to the playoffs. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible, but he was more mobile than Nick Mullins. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell?
Yeah,
so shout out to Alex Smith. Guy got a raw deal in San Francisco. I don't think he got a raw deal with the Kaepernick thing. I understood why they made the change, but guy was a pro all the way through. Help Cap, help Mahomes. He's going to be a coach someday. I can see him being somebody's OC or head coach down the road. So shout out to Alex.
I hope so.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Crazy pick, because we all know with that number 1 overall pick, they were supposed to take Aaron Rodgers, and that didn't happen. In retrospect, Javi, who would you have picked, Alex Smith or Aaron Rodgers?
People say that, people bring that up a lot, like Alex Smith or Aaron Rodgers. Could Aaron Rodgers survive what Alex Smith survived? Were the Niners were in a bad place? Aaron Rodgers had to rechange his entire throwing motion. He had a lot of warts to his game when coming out of Cal. Could he have been successful in San Francisco? I mean, I'm always told, talent always rises, cream rises to the top. So maybe he could have, but I think just the circumstances around it, I don't know if we get the same Aaron Rodgers we have now had he went through the same situation. But you have to put them in the same situation, right?
Exactly.
Those Niners teams were really bad. He got the perfect situation. He got to sit behind Favre, got to readjust his whole throwing motion, change up a lot of things, and they gave him the keys to the car, and they won a lot of games. If Alex Smith was put in that situation, do we see a better version of Alex Smith? Maybe, because we saw what Alex Smith looked like with competent football, like a competent football coach, Harbaugh, talented defense around him. Obviously, we all remember Willis and Bo, Justin Smith, Whitner, all those guys, Crabtree and Vernon were coming into their own. Frank was solid. Joe Staley was coming to his own. The offensive line was solid. Upati, Boone, Goodwin was a really smart free agency signing. It's revisionist history. People are like, oh, well, if we would have got Aaron Rodgers, we would have been so much better.
Oh, yeah.
Would we though? Would we?
Right. You never know.
Right.
You literally, like, everything. First of all, everything happens for a reason, but then circumstances are also everything,
Right,
like
those matter.
There's no telling. And it would have been different games, could have been injuries. Like, you never know.
Yeah. And Utah was a good team. He came out with a good program. He was a solid player. And, I think the biggest thing was he's just a good human. Like, Alex is a good human. And that's part that probably plays the whole part into the draft process. I think we heard Mike McCarthy was kind of against drafting Aaron Rodgers in San Francisco. Then he becomes a coach in Green Bay, and then they draft Aaron Rodgers. So
How wild.
see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, looking back, of course you draft Aaron Rodgers, but it is what it is. Alex had a decent career. He's not a Hall of Famer, but he was just a hall of pretty good players.
Yeah, 2020 comeback player of the year, baby. What more could you ask for?
And then, our guy Tech here, the staff for the 49ers might have ruined Aaron Rodgers. It's honestly, they probably ruined him.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, we've seen him, what he's done in the face of adversity over in Green Bay. I feel like sometimes he's kind of pouty. So I don't know how it would have. Yeah, I don't know how it would have flown over in San Francisco. But it's always fun to look back on decisions, especially decisions made on draft day. And we will be doing that here pretty soon. But let's jump into latest 49ers news ahead of the draft. We have the team, signing some depth players. So they signed running back Wayne Gallman and defensive end Arden Key to 1-year deals just today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think about these signings, guys?
I love it. I think they're good depth signings. I mean, especially Arden Key's definitely interesting. I think if there's anyone who can kind of unlock his potential, it'll be
Kusarik.
Yeah, I don't know how to say his name. I need to get better at learning
it's either Kusarik or Kusarik or something, but Coach K. Just call him Coach K.
The K. The K man. There you go.
Yeah, Javi, how important are these signings for the 49ers? Not just these ones that were made today, but all of the depth signings that they've made this offseason.
It's typical of the Niners to do this before the draft, kind of fill small holes that you might have had. I know with us talking, we all talk privately. We're always shooting ideas around. What if the Niners draft a running back? Are they going to take an edge player? This kind of gives them a little more leeway to go into the draft, a little more flexibility. Wayne Gallman was a starter after Saquon got hurt. So, I can see him being in the rotation of Mostert, Wilson, Hasty, or whoever else they might bring in. So you're looking at Gallman to be a guy who can probably take up 100, 120 carries. So that's what you're looking for. Arden Key, he's a project. He's really, really raw. What's the deal with Ronald Blair? Is he going to replace Ronald Blair? Maybe. I'm more looking. I'm more think Wayne Gallman makes the team, and Arden Key is kind of like a practice squad stash player, just because he hasn't shown anything in Oakland or Las Vegas or wherever the hell they are. Who gives a shit? It's the Raiders and their stupid tweet yesterday. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
But with Arden Key, I liked him coming out of LSU. He had a lot of traits. He could be a depth piece, and if he can show something, that'd be great. We saw what the Niners did with guys that weren't getting a lot of opportunities or weren't making the most of their opportunities, like Jordan Willis in New York. He played for the Niners this past year. Deion Jordan showed some flashes. So those kind of guys were getting a little bit more in the backfield, causing a little more havoc with the Niners and with their coaching staff and the way the defensive scheme was set up. So we all know how the 2019 team worked out with a defensive line rotation of 8 or 9 guys. You're throwing in Arden Key, who is kind of like a speed rusher. He has that Alden Smith type of length. So you're adding him to, a defensive line with Bosa, Kinlaw, Armstead. What if D Ford is back? You start doing some rotation. The guy who keeps getting in my head, I keep forgetting about him, Samson Ekubon. I think I say it right. Ibukum. That's how you say it.
Okay.
So you're adding him to that rotation, and I think the Niners are going to draft another edge guy, and they'll probably draft another defensive tackle. But that just gives them a little more flexibility to go into each round with the thought of best player available. We all know quarterbacks going 43, 102 is where they're going to be like, what do we do? Corner, wide receiver, edge guy. You're obviously not taking a quarterback in the second round if you take one in the first. So it gives them more flexibility, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a great point. That I think everyone's, what are they going to do at 43? It's like, dude, best player available. Like it could be anyone, So, I mean, obviously there are key positions that they should address. Like we know cornerback is one, but at the end of the day, if there's someone else better on the table that's not a cornerback, then and there's a place for him, you have to draft him,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're looking at, at pick 43, I think for me, it's going to be an edge guy. For others, it's Leo is like, oh, it's a running back. Leo, shut up. We're not taking a running back at 43. Corner and, wide receiver. The Niners have insulated themselves and set themselves up really, really well to go best player available after that third pick. We all know the re-signings with Mosley, Verrett, Trent Williams. Trent Williams is a big one. Once you get him done, you kind of can do whatever the hell you want. Juice is back. Tart is back. So you have some more flexibility. You can go take, if your board is like De'Ami Brown from North Carolina, Tyson Campbell from Georgia at corner, or Joe Tryon from Washington, you have an edge guy. So where does your positional value rank for how you're going to pick? Do you take corner, you take the edge guy, you take the wide receiver? What's more important in this situation? Is that corner going to start over Mosley or Verrett? Probably not. Is this edge guy going to start over Bosa or Ibukum? Maybe. So there's that. And then the wide receiver. We need a third wide receiver. Kendrick Bourne is in New England dancing. So I would probably go wide receiver and edge in that scenario. And yeah, I think Kendrick Bourne has kind of slowed down his IG stuff. It's not as long as it used to be.
No, bless his heart. R.I.P. to a real one. And at the end of the day, especially after what we saw last year, more guys at more positions is always a plus. You never know who's going to go down with an injury. They also hosted safety Tony Jefferson. So I think we still got 8 days until the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some more action by the front office prior to the draft. Do you guys think they're done?
Yeah, I think so. At least in these next few days.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah, I think they're done. I think we won't see any like major signings until like June 1st.
Yeah.
Anyone who's kind of hanging out there, who's left over, because you obviously, depending on how this OTA stuff works out, rookie mini camps and all that other stuff, you're gonna want to get some guys in there. The Niners are sitting at 70. No, they're sitting at 82 players now after these two signings. They have 10 draft picks or 9 draft picks. So It means someone's getting cut. You know what I mean? You can't roll.
Yeah.
You can't roll the season with 91 players, so someone's going to get cut.
Right.
And then you have to think about the Niners are notorious for adding 5 or 6 undrafted free agents. So we'll probably see some of these guys the back end get cut. Whether that be a Marcel Harris, whether that be Dante Johnson, who lives on this roster. There's maybe Arden Key, and those guys just don't make don't make that initial 90. They kind of have them hang around. I think. So yeah, Tech said at 80. Yeah, they're at 83. They have 9 picks. So 2 guys are getting cut because they got to fill the holes. And then the undrafted guys, like I said, 5 or 6 every year, and they've done pretty well with those undrafted guys. Mosley, Kendrick Bourne, Matt Breida. The list is pretty long on how they've done successfully there. So I would expect them to grab at least 4 or 5 of those guys. So we'll see some cuts too, and then June 1st we'll see what they do.
So to kind of piggyback on that, you mentioned that. Yeah.
Love that.
Money. You mentioned that, they have an overflow of players already on top of the 9 picks that they have. So I keep thinking that they might move up back into the first round, the tail end of the first round. Yeah. If they did that, who do you think they should be targeting there?
It just depends on who's available, right? It depends on what's falling. Is it Greg Newsome sitting there from Northwestern, the corner? Hell yeah! If you can get up to the mid-20s, yeah, do it. Is Najee Harris in there? In the mid-20s? That's for Leo. I know Leo's probably somewhere.
I was about to say that's for Leo.
Is he sitting there? Maybe you go up there. What if you really like one of these pass rushers? What if Azeez Ojulari is sitting there at like 28, and you can send pick 43 and 117, you get there, right? So I could see them do that, where they trade back into the first round, or like Justin said here, best guard. Maybe one of these guards are falling. One of these guys are just sitting there that you want to take, and they won't be there 43. So that's the risk you take. So you're picking 12th in the second round as well. So if it was me and one of their guys that's on the board, and you don't think he's gonna be there 43, and you can get him by just giving up 1 extra pick, yeah, might as well do it. And it's a first round pick. You get that 5th-year option. You get 5 years of control. You get a little bit more time to work with that player. We all know how we feel about Mike McGlinchey. They have 1 more year to decide what they want to do with him. So, it gives you that flexibility to do that. So yeah, I would definitely look at that. I would not be upset if they traded back into the first round for Najee Harris, or one of these wide receivers is falling. What if Rashad Bateman's falling? What if De'Ami Brown is going to be there at like 30, 31? You can go do that. And I think they'd be smart to do that. And there's teams that are wanting to trade back, some of the teams at the back end are lacking picks. They're going to want to, add some more picks, because this class is going to be deep. This class, teams lack information. They're going to probably want more, bites at the apple, see what they can get with these picks. If they can acquire something from the Niners, they probably will.
Yeah. David's got a new mock draft coming out tomorrow on 49ers Goldmine. So, and it sounds like he's going to be trading back into the first round. So you guys look out for that tomorrow.
Which I would love to see that happen. That would be very exciting. Yeah. I don't know if this is partially like draft talk with Javi, partially latest 49ers news, even though he's not a 49er yet. It was announced or released today. I don't know how you want to phrase that. It was announced today that Justin Fields has epilepsy and is dealing with that. And it's made, waves on the Twitter sphere. I don't know. I know people with epilepsy. Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you guys make of that? Like, to me, this guy has been playing at a high level for how long, and it hasn't impacted him at all. I mean, we all were gung-ho, or everyone was gung-ho about Justin Fields until this came out. Right. Still am, for sure. I know there are some people that were questioning it a little bit. I don't know what the overall consensus was, but to me, the guy's been killing it with epilepsy. That's just the fact of the matter. So does it matter if you're a head coach, if you're a GM, like, and you hear a guy has epilepsy, which like pretty rare, I feel, but like, how do you view that?
I view the whole situation as this is just normal draft,
Pre-draft. Yeah,
pre-draft bullshit. Can I curse on your podcast? Is that loud?
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we love cursing.
And who's the closest person to him? His head coach. I don't expect his head coach to say anything negative about him, but what did Ryan Day, and I quote, he said, "Justin's health, toughness, and work ethic have never been an issue, and I'm incredibly proud of his professionalism and the character he displays on and off the field. The fact that he's never missed a game at Ohio State speaks volume about how he takes care of himself." One, teams knew about his epilepsy before this came out. This is not news to anyone in the NFL. This is news to me, you, and everyone watching, unless you have some connection to Justin. Yeah, right. Teams know this is you're 8 days away from the draft. You don't know this shit. Like, come on, right?
Yeah.
To me,
it's a medical condition. Like,
yeah. To me, this is all just a part of the whole play. Draft content. Oh, he suffered from epilepsy. He overcame this, and
it's a story.
It's a story. It's another way to get engagement, and we know we talked about it last night. It's just, to me, this feels like kind of a smear campaign type of like, let's push this guy down the board, like as if your epilepsy news affect what the Niners are going to do at 3. For some reason, everyone's knocking the guy, Justin Fields, because I think people know that the Niners are going to take him at 3, and everyone's kind of avoiding that conversation. How fun would the draft be if we all knew Lawrence, Wilson, Fields were 1, 2, and 3? Then you start the draft at 4. Like, you want to the Niners. I said it last night on the show. And I think Bucky Book said it best. He's like, the Niners are the sun, and everyone is revolving around right now, waiting to see what the Niners do. The Niners are probably the most relevant team in the NFL right now, whether that be from Jimmy Garoppolo to Kyle Shanahan to this trade that everyone swore they didn't know was coming. I think we all knew. Some of us, the 3 of us, knew it was coming, right? So, it was just to me, it just feels like it's just another thing to kind of step on a guy. You guys see my nameplate, Fields at 3. I'm not budging off that. Fields at 3.
Yeah, and I saw Tech say in the comments, and this was mentioned, that people in his family also suffered from epilepsy and like grew out of it. So I guess that's a thing. So not a big deal.
And he's playing in the Big Ten. Like, and if it was a concern, he wouldn't be playing in the Big Ten. Right?
Straight up. Yeah.
He took a rib shot, broke his ribs, and finished the game versus Clemson and dropped 6 touchdowns on him. The guy is tough as nails. He's a vegan. People are, oh, he's a vegan. Everyone kind of goes back to the Kaepernick thing. Listen, there's plenty of guys in the NFL that are vegan that don't announce it. You'd be surprised, right? And this is what they want to do, take care of their bodies. That's what they feel is best for them. Let them do that. Who gives a shit?
Right. Yeah.
So, there's just a knock. It's oh, he doesn't study. That's been proven wrong. Oh, he doesn't get past his first read. The numbers say that's a lie. He's not pro ready like Mac Jones. Again, the numbers say that's a lie. Like, how many more things you have to debunk before you get to the whole, like, okay, maybe he is the guy at 3. How do you go from being QB2 for the last 5-6 years with Trevor Lawrence to now being QB5 behind Mac McCorkle-Jones and Trey Lance? No disrespect to Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance is an outstanding prospect. But sure. You mean to tell me the athletic specimen that Justin Fields is 3 spots behind Mac Jones? You kidding me? Get out of here. Get the fuck out of here. No.
So what is with all the Mac Jones talk? Like, why is this? I've never heard someone's name so much, and it seemed to just like appear out of nowhere for no damn reason.
I think part of it is engagement. To me, it goes back to engagement, right?
Same thing with the epilepsy.
Yeah, the Niners. I've said, but I've thought this before. Like, Sean McVay punted Jared Goff to Siberia, right? And you expect me to believe that Kyle Shanahan's going to want a quarterback similar to Jared Goff? The constant comparison is Jared Goff and McVay and Kyle. Their offenses are the same. They do a lot of the same things. Yet we want to put Matthew Stafford with McVay and Mac Jones with Kyle Shanahan. What? When we know Kyle Shanahan has had interest in Matthew Stafford, we know he had interest in Deshaun Watson. Who's the closest thing to those 2 guys? It would be Justin Fields or Trey Lance, not McCorkle. Like,
right.
come on,
Big,
guys.
strong, fast.
And he said it himself.
Fastest guys in the draft.
And I think, he said it, and people kind of disregard what he's saying. And it's like, oh, well, Mac Jones is similar to Kirk Cousins. And well, Kirk, we all know how Kyle ended his press conference. Like, well, yeah, I love Kirk Cousins. Cool. We all know you love Kirk Cousins, but that's not your ideal quarterback because you said it literally the sentence before. That's not your ideal quarterback. What you want your quarterback to do is to be an extension of you on the field. And that's why Kirk Cousins, for all the crap I've given him in the past and all the crap other people give him, that's why he works so well with Kyle. Kyle is like, listen, this is how the play is going to work. Do this, do this, do this. It's going to work. And he would execute, and he's healthy. And that's the biggest issue what we have right now with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not healthy. And Jimmy can execute. We've seen him do it. For all the crap that I give Jimmy, he's not terrible. He's in the middle of the road, and that's just what it is. But I think Marcus Spears said it best. Like, why would you go draft a guy who's going to stay within your X's and O's like Mac Jones when you can draft a guy like Justin Field who will potentially elevate you past your X's and O's, right? That doesn't make sense to just stay where you are. Like, why would I? You're wanting to get away from Jimmy Garoppolo, so let's go get a younger version of Jimmy Garoppolo or Jared Goff. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. Anyone with common sense would say, hey, it's either Trey Lance or Justin Fields. If the Niners were at 2, then, of course, you're looking at Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, or Trey Lance. And if they would have the first pick, it's a no-brainer you're taking Trevor Lawrence because you want the mobility, you want the ability to extend plays. I don't know if anyone remembers the Super Bowl. Jimmy had a lane to run in the first quarter. And I remember Kyle specifically saying, hey, just go. Like, he cursed him out. Like, just fucking go. Like, run. You had space. You could have got a first down there. Instead, they I think the next 2 snaps or the next 2 downs, you're punting. Like, you could have had a first. Like, run. Just fucking move. Like, whether you're scared because your ACL tear, but slide, bro. We've seen you run a little bit. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo is one of those guys. I think, we go back to that Rams game in 2019, the end of the season. He throws that dart to Kittle on the run. Like, that's when Jimmy's at his best. Let him improvise a little bit. And I don't think Kyle's preventing him from improvising. It's just there's a structure of the offense that Kyle wants to run. And most of the times it works. But when it breaks down, you need a guy who's going to be able to execute shit that when it breaks down. And it all points to me, Justin Fields. Like, it doesn't make any sense to pick anybody else but Justin Fields right now.
I think it's so funny how people literally just ignore everything that Kyle Shanahan says. Like, when he said, if we have the opportunity to upgrade at quarterback, we will. People were like, la, 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 la. When he says, I want the biggest, fastest, strongest quarterback in the draft, people just ignored that as well.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's the funny part. It's, again, to me, it's all to drive engagement. Like, if you look at anything that includes Mac Jones to the Niners, underneath it, it's like, fuck you, no way, blow. Like, it's everyone's pissed off all the way through. So you're driving clicks and engagement, you're getting people pissed off, and people are like, oh, look at these advertisement dollars we're getting now because we got the 49er fan base pissed off. Like, who's been the most polarizing quarterback the last 2 years? Jimmy Garoppolo. Either you love him, you hate him, or you're in the middle like me. I'm just indifferent. I don't give a shit. Like, it's all right, whatever, we can win with you.
Yeah, just want to win, yeah.
Just win and cool. But at the same time, like, we all know that we've kind of reached the peak. Like, if the peak is to get to the Super Bowl, cool, we got there. Now, Jimmy, I need you to go win it. And we were there, and he didn't do it, right? It's not all his fault because his offensive line kind of messed up there. Literally, Laken Tomlinson puts Chris Jones' arm in the air and bats a ball down. Like, that's not on Jimmy. But there's plays there that's like, Jimmy, you had Kittle wide open. You missed this. You missed that. You need to go find the guy that's going to elevate you past your X's and O's. And that's where Justin Fields or Trey Lance, those kind of guys come into play. Like, if Kyle Shanahan could, he would have got Deshaun Watson. Without any legal issues, he probably ends up with Deshaun Watson. If you're willing to pay the price you paid to go from 12 to 3, you probably would have paid an extra first-round pick to get Watson, right?
Yeah.
I can agree there, right?
I would have.
Yeah. What's it?
Like, if none of that had happened.
Yeah, exactly. If none of that stuff happens, you're looking at Deshaun Watson as a Niner, in my opinion. That's 4 first-round picks. Cool. You're expecting to pick at the back end of the first round. And you make some moves, and you figure out a way to move Jimmy Garoppolo and recoup some of that draft capital. But for me, it's just bring me Justin Fields, man. I'm just so tired of this shit.
Fields at 3. I think
I went on a
Stats
tangent
had a
there. I'm
question.
sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. That's why we brought you here, dude. We don't want to talk. We want to listen to you talk. Steph had a question about John Beck and everything that we've seen about him on Twitter.
Yeah, shifting to more exciting quarterbacks like, Justin Fields and Trey Lance and Zach Wilson, all of whom have worked with John Beck or have been asked to work with those players, rather, by Kyle Shanahan. What should we make of them not asking him to work with Mac Jones? Sorry to mention him again, but
take a drink.
Right.
We can mention McCorkle. It's all right.
Yeah.
McCorkle. Yeah. What should we make of that? And is that connection real? Like, is the fact that, he's been kind of coaching them through this pre-draft process, should we be super excited about that? Does it mean anything? What do you think?
To answer that first part, does it mean anything? Yes, it means a lot. The second part about, with Mac Jones, it goes back to Kyle's press conference. What did he say? He said, we're comfortable with 3 guys. We need to get comfortable with the other 2. So in my opinion, he's comfortable with Lawrence, which he's not going to get, Wilson,
Right.
which he might get. Maybe the Jets fuck it up and they do something stupid, or they take Fields in front of him, right? And the third guy would be Justin Fields. I think he's comfortable with Lawrence, Wilson, and Fields. He specifically asks Trey Lance to go see his guy, John Beck.
Just in case.
Just in case. If he's overlooking something, right? Kyle didn't scout Watson and Mahomes the way he should have. This is the smart thing to do. Get all the evaluation you can. Get all the inside information you can. Zach Wilson has been working with John Beck since he was a freshman in college. So who's most familiar with Zach Wilson? John Beck. Cool. John Beck and Kyle Shanahan worked together in Washington. John Beck and Kyle have been buddies for a long time. And it's another set of eyes, like Roan 1 said here. Yeah, you need those extra set of eyes. And what Kyle wants, Kyle runs a certain way in the offense. John Beck's also worked with CJ Beathard, Nick Mullins, and Jimmy Garoppolo. So John Beck knows what Kyle wants in the quarterback. So he's going to listen, this is what Jimmy Garoppolo didn't do well. This is what Nick Mullins didn't do well. This is what CJ Beathard didn't do well. We all know CJ and Nick did a lot of things that are like CJ, no rhythm, Nick, noodle arm. Jimmy's got a decent arm, decent feet, processing okay. We need a little bit more from him. So, okay, cool. You look at Zach Wilson, he's like to me, he looks like Derek Carr at Fresno State, right? That's where he's at, to me, in my opinion. He's like a Derek Carr clone right now. I don't want to give him, he's Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes. That's unfair.
That's a pretty good comp.
So put him at Derek Carr. Like if everyone remembers Fresno State, I think Guy Haberman made the comp, and I was like, oh wow, that's really good. And you go back and watch Derek Carr, then you see that. And then with Justin Fields, he's known Justin Fields since 2017. Kyle Shanahan from his QB Collective days, which is ran by Kyle Shanahan's agent, Richmond Flowers. And anyone who doesn't know this by now hasn't been paying attention to my Twitter since September, because I went all super FBI 49er detective because I figured the Jimmy Garoppolo experiment was over after week 1. I was like, it's over.
Well,
it's done.
Well, that was one question that I also had was, you've been dropping nuggets about like the QB Collective, since the end of last year. So when exactly did you learn about it, and like how did that come about? Yeah.
So I learned about it when I was with Pro Football Network. Ben Albright, those guys, Matt Canada, those people over there. They brought it up about how they run a QB school. I was like, oh wow, it's interesting. And they broke it down, and you start piecing it together. Like the entire Niners coaching staff is part of the QB Collective. Then you look at the Green Bay Packers. Oh, look, there's LaFleur. Now the Jets have him. Stefanski runs the same offense in Cleveland. Like these guys are all together, and they all run a similar offense. So, and they're molding guys to get to the pro level. And you see like guys like Matt Corral out of Ole Miss, DJ, I can't say his last name, from Clemson. The new quarterback's coming in next year. Bryce Young at Alabama was in that school, in that class. And from what I understand, Fields has worked with Kyle, or just the QB Collective guys in general, like every summer since 2017, whether it's Kyle or not, but it's those guys in that group. Not some of them are not in the NFL coaching, but they're just private quarterback coaches like Sage Rosenfels. I forget a couple of the other guys' names, but the PFN guys put me onto that. So I went digging. I start asking questions. I'm here in Austin. There's a lot of athletes here in Austin. Adrian Colbert, shout out to him, former 49er. He lives pretty close to me. We chop it up. He's took him to a couple gyms and you meet some people. And you start breaking shit down. You're like, oh wow. You start piecing things together. Right? Zach Wilson has his great day. I pieced together the John Beck thing. His first check mark. I was like, wait a second. Then Adam Peters goes to the Boise State BYU game. Oh, there's another check mark. Like the Niners were looking for a quarterback for a while. This is nothing new. This should not be surprising people. And then with the QB collective stuff, you start listening to Sage Rosenfeld goes on a lot of these shows. They're talking about what the Niners are looking for in a quarterback. He's always talking about mobile extension of Kyle Shanahan on the field. Got to make plays after the fact if Kyle's play isn't perfect. We all know Kyle can dial it up, but sometimes it's not there, right? So, the QB collective is it's a really interesting aspect to all this,
And I've heard people say like, oh, Kyle Shanahan and Mike Shanahan, like they don't even spend that much time at QB collective. Like they've been there like 3 times. And it's like, even if they're not there all the time, like you think those guys don't talk to each other?
Yeah.
Like to me,
like Mike Shanahan gets practice game film. Like Mike Shanahan still gets Niners practice game film. And exactly. And I'm pretty sure he's still part of somewhat of the weekly game planning every week for the Niners. Like, hey, Dad, can you check this out for me, bro? Like,
I mean, I would.
Yeah, like,
he's retired. He has the time.
Yeah, and like guys like Mike Shanahan, they don't really retire. Like this is what he loves. Hugh, shut up. So yeah.
Yeah, take that weak hat off. Just gonna cough really quick. Cool. So let's see. We got the Mac Jones. We've mentioned him a lot on the pod tonight, but
too much.
We've really seen the national media kind of change their tune on him the past week or so. So what do you make of that? We've Sage Rosenfeld, he straight up said SF ain't drafting Mac Jones, period. We know he played for Kyle Shanahan for 3 years, and he works with both the Shanahans at QB Collective. Yeah. So what do you make of the backing off? Because I know we've talked a lot about how it's engagement. So are they flip-flopping now for more engagement, or like what do you make of it?
I think just no one knows anything. Yeah. I think everyone's just hedging their bets. I think everyone is just like,
why are we even talking about this?
Protecting their ass, with me with the Stafford thing. Maybe I should have just said it differently, right? But now people like Matt Miller are like, oh, what are you gonna do April 29th when it's Mac Jones? And then literally tweets 2 days ago, like, maybe it's not Mac Jones. No shit. Like, yeah. Dude, don't make come on. And like Jordan Anderson, Mr. Anderson in the comments, he could see why the Niners would draft Mac Jones, Sage. Yeah, you turn on the film, you can see what Kyle would like. He's a processor, easy throw.
Which, like any quarterback in the draft, pretty much.
Yeah. But I think, and then Bucky Brooks had another really good analogy. 1 second, excuse me.
No, you're good. It's the pollen in the air. It's springtime.
Bro, cedar down here is crazy.
Allergies or COVID? That's like the new question.
It's allergies.
Yeah.
But
knock on wood.
But Bucky Brooks did the same. Bucky Brooks had the really good analogy. He called Mac Jones Iron Man, and he said Mac Jones is Tony Stark, and his suit is the Alabama team. Mm-hmm. So he's only a superhero when he puts the suit on. And he's only really
reminds me of someone.
I'm listening.
Oh, Jimmy G. Go on.
Oh,
had to get my shot in there.
I'm not allowed to say anything negative about Jimmy Garoppolo.
Another stray for Jimmy G.
Dude.
Feels great.
Anyway, carry on. Like, yeah, can get the job done because his team's freaking awesome. Go ahead.
Yeah, and not to take Mac. I think Mac has decent footwork in the pocket. I think he has a decent enough arm. I think he's really good processor. But the same knocks, and people were like, "Oh, Justin Fields didn't get past his first read." Neither, like Mac Jones didn't either. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? Like, you have Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. Like, come on. Najee Harris out of the backfield. You have one of the best offensive lines in football. Of course you're gonna have fucking 6 seconds to throw the ball. Like, what's going on here? right? Ohio State had a terrible offensive line. They played tougher defenses in the Big Ten. According to the the rankings and things like that. And you don't trade up from 12 to 3 to take McCorkle. Like it just doesn't make sense. And then national media guys
calling him that.
No wonder he goes by Mac.
Hate and love that's his first name.
His mama calls him McCorkle. I'm gonna call him McCorkle. Okay.
I will say this: if the 49ers do draft Mac Jones, I will name my next dog McCorkle 100%. Like that's an awesome dog name.
I'm writing that down.
I would. Yeah. No.
Okay. 99%.
Would I be mad if they drafted him? Absolutely not. Would I be disappointed? Would I question Kyle Shanahan more? Yeah, because I'm not. It's not McCorkle's fault that he gets picked third. You know what I mean? If he doesn't succeed, kind of like Solomon Thomas, he got picked third. He didn't succeed. That's on the staff.
Yeah.
And those folks. So, it doesn't. It just doesn't make sense. You don't trade up to go take Kirk Cousins light. You know what I mean? With a beer belly. Like, come on.
Sorry. Kirk Cousins light. Diet Kirk Cousins. Okay. Javi, you brought up Matt Stafford and what you could have, should have, would have done differently. And I wanted to ask you, and I don't know if our listeners know, but you were actually featured in The Athletic. Bay Area sports guy wrote a column all about you. Yeah, I seriously think it's a big deal. Like, I mean, I know that was like not the best moment in your life, but if you haven't read the piece, go read it on The Athletic. It's just about Javi, saying that details were being hammered out in the Matt Stafford potential deal. And then, of course, he ended up going to the Rams. I think everything you said in there was like so real. It's like, we're all doing the same thing. We're all out here trying. And like you were trying to give the people that follow you, like the information you were getting, which you believed was good. What was not only like that whole situation, like titter. Oh my God. I just said titter instead of Twitter.
Jesus.
Twitter can be a toxic place.
It is.
So what was that like? And then like, what is it like to have a publication like The Athletic write about you, a quote unquote podcaster?
The whole thing leading up to it, I think anyone who knows, I had a lot of really good information leading up to that. Like, hey, Dan Campbell is hired. Stafford's going to request a trade. I tweeted that out because I had heard it. I was told it.
Yeah, you got that right. Like,
right. So that counts as correct, right?
Yeah.
I had the Atlanta GM hire correct. I had the Robert Saleh hire a day early. I kind of got irritated with the whole situation because I had heard he wanted. I had heard the initial conversation was a 6-year contract, and it turned out to be a 5-year. Okay, cool. Off by one number, right?
Right.
And again, like I told the guys at The Athletic or Bay Area Sports Guy that I'm not trying to break news. I just wanted to share with the people. Like, there's certain things that we should all know about. Like, this team should be a little more they're as transparent as they can be, and I understand that it's good for them to lie and withhold information. But sometimes, people need to know. People want to know things. So I get down to the Senior Bowl. We're at the practices, and there's agents everywhere. Like, literally, I'm standing between Nicole Lynn, who is one of the biggest, brightest, youngest female agents in the NFL. She's awesome. I'm talking to her about Deontay Brown. And then to the right of me is Drew Rosenhaus cursing out somebody about a guy wanting a trade. It was hilarious, right? And then in front of me is the UAB coaches. So, I'm surrounded by a whole bunch of talented people, and I'm just me, right?
Living it up.
You hear things, you talk to people, they get to know you, they know who you are. And it's really cool. So the situation was cool. And then we go out drinking that night. You start hearing things, you sit around, share text messages, see people's phones, and you're like, oh, wow, this thing might actually be real. John Lynch is in town. The Lions are in town. John Lynch is seen with the GM talking for a couple hours. For literally from where I'm standing, I could see John Lynch like across the way. He's standing there just talking. And you start putting the pieces together. You get a little more information here and there. And then I get the call like, hey, this might happen. They're hammering things out. I'm like, okay, cool. I just tweeted it. And I kept going about my day. Like, I didn't care. I was like, all right,
it wasn't like you literally just
Say it was
tweeted
done.
Matthew Stafford has signed with the 49ers, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so like I didn't say it was done. And then, of course, the Rams come in to play. And I found out the Rams weren't at the Senior Bowl from the UAB coach. He's like, hey, our guy Austin Watkins has talked to everybody but the Rams because they're not here. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I was like, okay. And then I get on the plane to go back to Texas. And they're like, oh, the Rams are kind of involved. I'm like, oh, shit, here we go. And I'm like, there's no fucking way the Rams are going to trade for Matthew Stafford. And then they do it. And then there goes my Twitter. People acted like I killed their kids.
Dude.
Ran over their dog. Like,
Dumb.
bro, like I don't need the clout. I run a podcast. I have 2 kids, a wife. Like, this is not the most important thing to me in the world. You know, I love my Niners. I love doing what I do because it's fun. And people just took it a little bit too far, which is fine. Cool. Get mad, whatever. But at the same time, like, you wouldn't say none of that shit to my face. That's exactly what I said in the athletic piece. Like, people talk tough through their keyboards. It's like, you're not going to say anything to me in person. Like, what the hell? I'd buy you a beer in real life. You know what I'm saying? So it was just a weird situation, you know, and then I had no reason to not believe the guy who gave me the information because he had been right so many other times. So I was like, okay. Right. And I had other people tell me the same thing. You know, when you're in the same room as, you know, guys like Albert Breer and Matt Miller, and you got agents here, you got an agent there, you got this guy from Locked On Sports, you got like, oh wow, you know, and people know who you are because of the podcast that, you know, myself and my previous co-host had built. People know who you are, so it's pretty unique. They're like, oh, you're Javi. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, you know, hello, nice to meet you. You know, things like that, and it is what it is. At the same time, you know, if I were to do it again, I probably would have been a lot more vague about it. Just be like, hey, the Niners are expressing interest in Matthew Stafford, and left it at that. Yeah. But I just tweeted out what I was told, and that's it. You know, I can't control what happens after the fact. You know what I mean? So,
was there any part of you, like, after the fact that felt like maybe you might have been, like, used, you know, in all of the deal talks and everything? Like, someone used you to get different information out there to maybe push something one way or the other?
I don't think I'm that powerful.
I don't know, man. You never know.
I mean, I've gotten phone calls from a team before about, hey, don't talk about this prospect anymore because
really?
You know, and I've been told, like, hey, teams have like a guy in the basement, like literally listening to every podcast and watch people's Twitter accounts. Like, they do.
Hope they're watching this.
You know, and they're trying to see what else is out there because people talk, you know, regardless what other people like to believe. Mm-hmm. Players have family members, players have agents, those agents have family members. Things get out that type of way, right? That information, whether it's true or not, it still gets out. And that's how a lot of things leak or whatever. And I'm not saying the Niners leak or whatever, but it's just, there's just a lot of stuff that gets out. And I just told you, I was here with Adrian Colbert, lives close to me. I've met him. I've been around a lot of players in the NFL because of him, thanks to him. A lot of agents because of him. Thank you to him. So there's just a lot of information that comes out, and you know, it is what it is. And people just need to understand that that's just because I don't have a blue check mark and I have 7,000 followers doesn't mean I don't know who people are. Like, just Google Austin, Texas. Check out who lives here. Earl Thomas, Deshaun Watson has a house here. Drew Brees lives here. Nick Foles lives here. Like, UT training. That's the big one right there. UT, University of Texas. They're always here. Like, a lot of these guys are here. Marquise Goodwin literally works out at the field in Pflugerville, which is 10 minutes from my house. He runs on the track literally every day. You go watch his IG story. He's running on the track. You know, you run into a lot of these players out here. 6th Street is where a lot of these guys hang out. The Domain is another spot where people hang out. You know, you run into players all the time, you know, so it just is what it is. It's crazy.
I don't have that experience in Turlock so much.
Listen, you just got to get Kaepernick out there, bro. That's it. You get Cap on the show, it's a wrap.
You're probably too scared. Oh my God. You know, isn't that crazy? Like, he's probably too scared to go to Turlock now. Like,
so they had the first ever Pittman High School, like, Hall of Fame awards in 2018, I believe, fall 2018. And obviously he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Pittman High School treats him really well compared to everyone else in Turlock. But they invited him to the awards and he didn't show up, but his dad did come and take the.
I don't blame him.
No, yeah, 100%. And it's funny to me when people are like surprised by that, and I'm like, bro, like you took his hot dog off the menu at the hot dog place downtown. Like,
Yeah, didn't they put his jersey on the floor? It's like into a bar and stuff. Like, come on.
Yeah, some places use it as like a doormat and shit. So super crazy. That's one former 49ers quarterback that we all love. Another one that we all love that's currently on the team is Jimmy Garoppolo. What happens to him if the 49ers draft a quarterback at 3?
I think he's traded. And it's not like people are like, oh, you just hate Jimmy Garoppolo. No, it's common sense. If anyone's paid attention to the NFL the last 15 fucking years, like, cool. Everyone's like, well, this is the Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes situation. No, it's not. It's not even close.
That cracks me up. I'm sorry.
It's not even close. Like, Alex Smith is a different human. You can't, I view this as Sam Bradford, Carson Wentz scenario. This is a business. It's $2.8 million cap hit if you cut him or trade him. It doesn't make sense to keep him. What is he going to teach the new guy? I don't know. Now, that's not to shit on the guy. It's just, what are you teaching the new guy that they can't do now, right? And I think I go back to Kyle Shanahan's quote, someone's going to be left at the altar, right? That's what Kyle said. At 12, someone's going to be left at the altar. So there's going to be someone who is going to be quarterback desperate, quarterback needy. And the Niners would have, whether that's Justin Fields, McCorkle, Trey Lance, on the roster with Jimmy Garoppolo. You're not trading the rookie you just drafted. You're trading the guy who's been here a couple of years, who has some value in the league, and you want to trade him now. You don't want to trade him next year. You don't want to trade him going into. I'm sorry. You don't want to trade him in the season, because what if he gets hurt? And God forbid he gets hurt. I don't want anyone to get hurt. What if he plays poorly? Then his value plummets. Right now, his value is at the all-time high. Whether that is a second-round pick, whether that's a first-round pick, you need to get something for him now. And I would think they, yeah. And if he was, and if Jimmy was a guy, you wouldn't be drafting a quarterback. You wouldn't have made this move to draft a quarterback in the first place. Tech is my guy, by the way. That guy is awesome. To me, I think that the teams are dwindling, though. Like, the way I view the draft, obviously you go Lawrence, Wilson, Fields at 3 to the Niners. What does Atlanta do? Whatever Atlanta does kind of dictates where Jimmy Garoppolo ends up. Because does New England come up to 4? Because if New England comes to 4, they're taking a quarterback, right? So that you automatically scratch off New England. Who's left? Washington, Chicago. Who's going to take McCorkle? Washington or Chicago?
McCorkle.
Whoever's left over might be stuck in a spot where they're like, do we really want to have Fitzmagic? Do we really want to have Andy Dalton? Who else is out there that might need a quarterback? There's
Andrew would take Fitzpatrick.
I would take Fitzpatrick.
Who else needs who else might need a quarterback out there? And
I know the Panthers are like, there have been reports that they're now thinking of moving back, right?
Yeah, so you move back. So what if McCorkle flies down to 8 and they can move back, and Denver might move at one spot and they take McCorkle, or they trade for Jimmy. Like me and Josh have spoken privately. Denver was in on Jimmy Garoppolo a few weeks ago. I don't know where that's at right now, but that's another spot. Because Drew Lock is immature. He hasn't shown any improvements. Again, Jimmy Garoppolo is in the middle of the road quarterback, and he would probably win a lot of games in Denver. That is a really good roster. Really good roster.
I wouldn't mind taking a chance on him if I'm another team that is in need of a quarterback. I mean, like, if you put the right pieces around him, he can go to the Super Bowl. He's proven that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. What were you going to say?
I'll just say this, though, on Denver, they're in the same division as Patrick Mahomes, who Garoppolo can't beat. So I don't know.
With Denver, though, like, I think Denver's defense is strong enough. Denver plays. Vic Fangio's really damn good. Denver plays pretty good. And if you can get just a better, if you can get more consistent, it's crazy I'm putting consistent and Jimmy Garoppolo in the same sentence, but a more consistent quarterback play like Jimmy in Denver, you might see a team that wins 10, 11 games, and they're in a wild card spot, right?
If he stays healthy.
If he stays healthy, Me, I think Denver makes the most sense for Jimmy. I think Chicago makes a lot of sense. New England, of course, But what do those teams do come draft day? I think see 4 quarterbacks go in the first 4 picks, and that fourth one is going to be the one that kind of sets everything up. And I think the Niners trading the 3 really ruined a lot of teams' plans. You know, I never bought the idea that Carolina was in love with Mac Jones. Get out of here, bro. I watched you coach him. Like, come on. I don't know, Henry. I just know that there was some kind of talk, and I don't know if it was strong enough to even have an offer. I just know that there was some interest. Just
anyone listening on audio, Henry asked what Denver would offer for Jimmy G.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, I think we're gonna upload this later.
Will.
And you know, with New England, what do they send? Like, what's it going to take to get Jimmy away from San Francisco? And I think at that point, I think the Niners would take whatever they could get. Like, if New England sends pick 46 for Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm packing Jimmy Garoppolo's bags for him.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
You're picking 3, 43, and 46. That 43 and 46 give you enough ammunition to get back into the first round, like we talked about earlier in the show. You can use 43 and 117, get back in the first. Boom, you're picking somebody late in the first round, and then boom, 46, you can go get your corner, right? Or whoever it was who was there, right? These are just dream scenarios, right? Chicago, you know, they're picking 20th in the second round. So what are they picking? Like 50? They're like 51 or whatever. What if they send 51? Yeah, send that too. Like I would send him to those spots for that pick.
Yeah. So after Justin Fields' first pro day, I did a poll on Twitter and I asked, who would you rather have at 3? And it was between Zach Wilson and Justin Fields, and Justin Fields won, beat out Zach Wilson. And I think if I would have asked that back in like December, November, I think the poll would have been a lot different just because of hype on Twitter. And I was about to say, you were one of the people that brought Zach Wilson to a lot of 49ers fans' attention.
I got yelled at for it.
Yeah, exactly. I know it was a huge thing. And I remember you posted that clip of, I forget who he was doing an interview with, but he's like zooming in the car and he said he really like loves Kyle Shanahan's offense and could see himself fitting in nicely. Do you think it's like what percentage do you think it's possible that Fields goes at 2 and Zach Wilson is still on the board at 3? And given the choice between the two, who would you rather pick? And that's a question for Steph too.
Percentage wise, that Fields goes 2, I think it's like 1%.
Yeah.
And 99% that Zach Wilson's going 2.
You said it's pretty much in Sharpie. But
yeah, well, you know, I think there's a lot of people saying it's in Sharpie, and I'm gonna believe them on that because there's just too much information on that. Like, you know, I saw something on Twitter and Instagram the other day that Zach Wilson's like trying to buy custom cars in New York already. So we'll see what that is. He's a rich kid, so maybe he's just buying some custom shit just to have it. But and then who would I choose? I like Zach Wilson. I really like Zach Wilson. I haven't changed my opinion on him. I still think he might have a better career than Trevor Lawrence. Don't kill me for that. And Trevor Lawrence got the playbook. Tech didn't they already give him the playbook? Trevor Lawrence got the playbook first. I don't know where Zach Wilson is. I don't know if they gave him the playbook yet.
Okay.
If they did, cool. Then it's definitely 100% he's going to the Jets, right?
Yeah.
But if I had to choose, I'm going to choose Justin Fields based on size. You know, the thing that scares me the most is Zach Wilson. He's like 6'1", 210, 215.
Right.
He's real light. He's real light in the ass. He needs like a mayonnaise sandwich or something to get his weight up.
Just hit the squat rack, dude.
Yeah, and then, you know, with Justin Fields, I just think Justin gives the Niners just a little bit more of what they're looking for. That the ability, the threat with a running quarterback, the zone reads, the outside zone stretch run game, the fear of having a running quarterback that's running 4-4 just makes things very difficult for a defense. So I think he's a better fit. But I would not be mad if Zach Wilson was the pick at 3 either. So
no, I already said, you know, any of the top 4 like are fine with me. Steph, I feel like I know what your answer is, but
yeah,
speak on it.
It's pretty well documented. But yeah, I would also go Justin Fields. And the reason for that is I just think he's more battle tested than the other quarterbacks. He's gone against tougher defenses. Just like some of the injuries he's played through, or just being a little banged up. but he's able to play through it. I just feel like you know what you're getting with him more so than the other guys. And that's the kind of certainty that I think the 49ers should be looking for someone that they gave that many picks to move up for. So I think it should be Fields.
For sure. Well, Steph, do you have any more questions for Javi before we jump into the Twitter submitted questions for him?
I don't actually. So I'm gonna start reading off some of these questions from the mailbag. So
a mailbag.
Here we go. Mailbag editions, baby.
So 49 Thoughts asked, and we kind of touched on this already. Give the best possible scenario post draft with the quarterback situation being what it is.
Best possible scenario is you got a pick for Jimmy Garoppolo in a trade. You have Justin Fields as your starter, and you find a quality veteran backup, whoever that might be out there. This is where I think Cam Newton might come into play. Like, hey,
interesting.
New England, send us Cam. Cam and Fields have a really good relationship. That might be something where to help teach him how to run the offense, and you don't have to change the offense too much. If, God forbid, Fields gets hurt or vice versa, Cam gets hurt, you can still run the same offense with something like that. So best possible scenario to me would to get, a second rounder for Jimmy. Fields is in, it's a starter, and then you find a solid veteran backup.
I haven't heard anyone mention that before, like the duo of Newton Fields, and now I'm just like, wait,
that's legit.
Look at me making sense. Look at me making sense.
As you always do.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
No, yeah. And it was like, well, Cam sucked last year. I'm like, Cam had COVID. He still balled out. We watched him play against Seattle.
He's on a terrible team.
Yeah, like they had no weapons, and they still won 7 games. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and it's Kyle Shanahan. It's hashtag Kyle.
Hashtag Kyle.
Exactly. So Boogie Jones asked, when are we extending all pro Fred? Is there any timetable for that, you think?
I have no idea, but I would assume it's right before training camp. I would assume it's on the same timeline as Kittle's, right before the opening of training camp. You want to get that guy signed. You want, obviously you paid Kittle, you paid Trent, you pay your best players. If you can't pay your best players and you run into a DeForest Buckner situation, then you're kind of scrambling. With Fred has gone from, a guy that, was going to play the will linebacker spots, again, the green dot in training camp to, flashing like in 2019. And then 2020 was just another level of outstanding play. To me, he's ready on both caliber, like he's getting there, and he's probably might have passed one of them. I don't know which one, but I don't want to get yelled at on your podcast, but I think he's probably passed one of them already. So
no, give us the engagement.
I think he probably passed Bo. I think he passed Bo at this
I don't think
point.
that's crazy to say.
Yeah. I think Fred is just everything.
It's crazy.
He's
everything.
elite.
Yeah.
He is. Do you think he might hold out?
No,
Okay.
I don't think he'd hold out. I think the Niners would pay him. This is something where like the Niners have been familiar with paying linebackers good money. You had Willis, you had Bo. Like they paid those guys early. They paid them guys well. I think Fred would be a guy that they pay early and they pay him very well. And I think you want to pay him now before he gets that second All-Pro because then the price goes up. Pay him now.
Yeah.
Yes, indeedy.
Yeah, one of the most important positions on the team and one of the best players in the league.
He's probably our most important defensive player on the team. Like,
yeah.
And I know Bosa and all those guys, but like Bosa didn't play last year, and if it wasn't for Fred, we probably would have got smoked.
Would have got smacked. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, he's the quarterback of the defense. He really is, and he's a leader. Obviously, he's elite, as we've been saying. So yeah, I agree. He's probably the most important player on defense.
Come on the show, Fred.
Yeah.
I talked to his dad. His dad said his dad was like, I'll ask him. And I asked him again. And he's like, oh, I forgot to ask. And I'll ask him.
Oh.
I'm waiting, Mr. Warner Sr. Shoot your shots, everyone. Shoot your shots.
901 Club said, who are some players in your eyes who are underlooked at for the 43rd pick in the draft?
Tyson Campbell, corner, Georgia. Eric Stokes, corner, Georgia. Tryon Joe Tryon, UW edge rusher. I like Patrick Jones in the late rounds. I like my guy Benjamin St. Juice, cornerback out of Minnesota in the late rounds.
You
Austin,
love him.
I love Ben St. Juice. He's awesome.
But
Austin
do you feel
Watkins.
like, sorry, do you feel like he's an option at 43? Because I've seen him mocked like
Ben?
going way later. Yeah.
No, I think he's more of an option, round 3,
Okay.
round 4. Keith Taylor, another guy that I really like. I think this class is pretty deep. Melifonwu, corner from Syracuse, another guy you should take a look at. Andre Cisco, safety from Syracuse, another guy. This class is pretty loaded DB wise and wide receiver wise. Austin Watkins Jr. is a guy I really, really want. He has that dog about him. He's got a really good frame. He reminds me of Anquan Bolden, but much faster. Good hands. He only had 1 drop in college out of like 156 targets. It's pretty crazy. Solid wide receiver, good run blocker. Drake Jackson of Kentucky, center, is another guy that fits the 49ers offense. David Moore Jr. out of Grambling State, another guy. There's just Ellerson Smith, edge rusher. Like this class is pretty loaded, and you're going to get some really good depth players in that 4th, 5th, 6th round that can be contributors. And I think the Niners need to come out with, I know you didn't ask, but I think the Niners need to come out with 5 or 6 contributors in this draft. They have to. You have to.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, just a wealth of knowledge. Just listing those names off the top of your head. Yeah, like what is your advice to people who may not be as like draft literate as you are? How do you teach yourself that, and how do you study, and like how do you know all the players?
Well, I have 2 kids, as you both know. I have a wife who works night shift. I put my kids in bed at 8:30. Once the house is clean, I kind of just have the house to myself. And I'm not a TV guy, so I don't really care for TV shows
I love TV
or whatever. So I just, I'll just flip on the tape. I'll talk to my boy Fernando. I'll talk to, our guys, and we chat and stuff like that. But I'm usually just watching tape, and just reading. Like I just like to read. I really enjoy the process. I think I enjoy the draft season more than I enjoy the regular season, because there's just so much information and the drama's there. Like this is like my telenovela of the draft season. It's like, oh yeah, who's going where?
And you said you don't like TV.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's not like, what's the last series I watched? Game of Thrones, and we all know how that ended. So,
I won't get it started.
Yeah, but for those who were really interested in it, just I started off really like YouTube a couple years ago, just watching YouTube highlights and shit like that, and then you meet people on the internet and they start sharing content with you. Like, hey, here's all 22 for this player and that player. And I kept stockpiling film. So I'm just here in my office and just watching game tape and looking at stats and numbers. So
you can tell you have a passion for it. And I think that's like one of the things that you definitely need to, become who you have, for sure.
And then, my kids are asleep, so that helps. Like, that's my relaxation.
Yeah.
Like, I can do that. Like, the Bulls stink. The Yankees are playing like shit. It's like, all right, man.
What's the next mailbag cue?
All right. Chris84 call asked, with the history on drafting quarterbacks in the first round being what it is, how many in this draft will be elite? How many will be busts?
That's such a hard question.
In the first round? Okay. So round 1, you have Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl type of quarterback. Doesn't mean he's going to make the Pro Bowl, but he'll like have Pro Bowl type numbers. The team might suck around him. But
immediately,
with him, I think you have really good numbers. DJ Chark's a solid player. They have a decent offensive line. They have a decent running game. So there's stuff there. Urban Meyer is a pretty good coach. I would expect them to win some games. I don't know how many they're going to win, but I think you're looking at him like Joe Burrow. Like Joe Burrow was on a really good pace, right? And then he gets hurt. So hopefully Trevor Lawrence doesn't get hurt. But my point is, the rookie who was elite in college transitioned really well to the NFL, and I think Trevor is going to transition pretty well. So he could be like a Pro Bowl, a perennial Pro Bowl type player going forward. The one that scares me the most is Zach Wilson at the Jets. Because regardless of Robert Saleh, cool. Robert Saleh could have a great first year. Defense could be really good. Offense could be okay. But what do they do when LaFleur leaves at an offensive coordinator? How is he going to transition to the next offensive coordinator? What is their plan going forward? Because I think it's safe to assume LaFleur will probably get a head coaching job, right? So how's that going to work out? Is he going to go through that Alex Smith situation where he has 5-6 offensive coordinators and you're redoing the Sam Darnold situation? Justin Fields, I think, when is the last time a team as loaded as the Niners drafted this high?
I know.
Right? And when I say loaded, I mean, regardless of the guys who were injured last year, they won 6 games and they were in every game with Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard at quarterback, right? So you're asking for a quarterback who has a lot more traits to win you games. So, yeah, of course, I would think Fields would be successful. I think Lawrence would be successful. And I think Fields would be a Pro Bowl type player as well. When it comes to Trey Lance, situation is going to matter for him big time.
Yeah.
And I think he should start year one because he's gone 15 months without taking a snap. And you want him to sit another season? Yeah. Right. He's got to go to a spot where he could start. And I think wherever he goes, he's going to have to start somewhere. So that situation may hurt him, but I think he has the upside to be a Pro Bowl player. And then Mac Jones, I think he's, to me, he's your safest. He might be the safest bet, but he's going to be your Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Mitch Trubisky type of player who's going to rely on play action. He's going to rely on the team around him to be successful. And if the team isn't built up around him, he's going to struggle. So if I had to put some weird qualifier on them, I think you have 2 all pros in this group, Lawrence and Fields. You have Pro Bowl caliber player with Mac Jones, and Pro Bowl player in Trey Lance, and you have quality NFL starter in Mac Jones, and the guy with the highest bust potential seems to be Zach Wilson. But could his situation be really good in New York? And those are the questions that I have. So that's just kind of where I'm at with those guys.
Man, if I'm a quarterback in the draft and I have the possibility of being drafted by the 49ers that high and the potential of going to that team, I am stoked. I'm so excited. Whatever quarterback they get immediately has an advantage over, any other first round quarterback that has been drafted in the past, because they're going to this great team that, just got the short end of the stick last season. So it's going to be so exciting to see who they pick. And,
not to compare the Niners to the Cowboys, but it's like the Cowboys situation with Dak, right? That team wasn't supposed to be drafting 4th. They take Zeke. Okay, you get Zeke, and then you luck into this Dak Prescott pick in the 4th round because Tony Romo gets hurt. And now you have a stacked roster where Dak Prescott can excel. And that's kind of how I view the Niners. You have Debo, you have Ayuk, you have George Kittle, Trent Williams there. Alex Mack is one of the smartest centers in the NFL of all time, probably. He's going to help the kid out. Yeah. So I think that's a key component that's being missed here. Alex Mack is important, his importance to this offensive line and the quarterback, where he can get to the line, set the pre-checks, and help the quarterback out there quite a bit. So yeah,
he's for sure gonna overtake that leadership role that Staley had. I feel that was kind of missing. So I'm excited to see that.
Absolutely.
And this last question here from Niner Gang 88. If you had to guess now, will Lawrence be better than Luck was? It's an interesting question for sure.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Luck's a bad motherfucker, man. Jesus.
Yeah, dude. R.I.P.
I think similar to the Dallas situation. That roster wasn't terrible. They had won 13 games, and then Manning gets hurt and they lose all those games, and you get Luck and they're back to the playoffs. So with Lawrence, the roster is not as great. You know what I mean? I don't think Lawrence is as good as Luck, though. I'm not in that camp. I think Lawrence might have pretty much hit his ceiling in college. I didn't see him improve in college. But it's also he's around a loaded roster and he really didn't have to do too. He did a lot, but when you're getting smoked by Ohio State and Fields is throwing 6 touchdowns and you're struggling against an Ohio State defense that really wasn't that good, I have my questions, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think Lawrence can be successful in the NFL. DJ Chark and Lawrence could be a match made in heaven. They have a really good running game. They have plenty of picks. They can make a lot of things happen in this draft, which I think is pretty deep at, your skill positions on offense. And then, just make sure you can protect the guy. Trent Baalke, don't ruin this guy. Like, just don't ruin it. It's not, you got the easiest pick of your life. Like, you got a layup here, man. Like,
wouldn't put it past him.
Just get it done. But yeah, Laviska Shenault is a stud. Like, they got weapons in Jacksonville. But no, I don't think he'll be as good as Luck. I just think Luck's highest peak was all pro. Like, he was on a Hall of Fame path, right? And Lawrence, it's too early. I think it's just too early, and we'll find out soon enough. If that's fair. I hope I didn't cop out of that question, but it's really tough.
Well, like, the draft is a crapshoot. Like, we all know that. It's impossible to predict what's going to happen. It's impossible to know what guys are going to do. The best we can do is look at what they've done so far and try and guess. So
yeah,
I don't know how else you could answer, really.
It's the draft is stressful enough. Well, 8 days.
Yeah.
8 more days.
Well, Javi, I feel like we grilled you. We've been going for an hour and 15, but our last segment is usually the Twitter tizzy. And
let's do it.
Man, Twitter. We love Twitter. Okay. The Twitter tizzy that I thought of this week was someone said that all of a sudden, this person said, all of a sudden I'm seeing all of these women on my timeline, like, wanting to draft Justin Fields who don't even watch college football. And like, I had to pipe in. I had to chime in. I was like, are you okay? Like, why are you singling out women? First of all, like, I could count on both of my hands how many women I've seen tweet about Justin Fields. And for sure, all of them know who he is, know what he can do, have watched him play in college. So why are you singling out women when, like, Javi, I think you're the thirstiest for Justin Fields probably on the timeline, and you're a dude.
Absolutely.
Like, I just didn't understand. And I feel like, it goes back to the whole thing with Jimmy Garoppolo when he was a starter and when he was winning games and when people were excited about that. Like, it always goes back to, the girls just think he's cute. And it's always a knock on women. And so if you're listening to this, just chill the fuck out, dude. Like, you don't have to attack women every day of your life. We actually do watch sports and we know what we're talking about. So, like, and if you, I just wanted to get that off my chest.
And if there's things that you don't know, you ask, right? And
I'm always asking you shit. Like,
man, and there's things that I don't know, and I refer to other people. No one knows everything, and it's just ignorant for other men or for just men to do that. It's embarrassing. Like, I shouldn't say, I hate how I sound like that, but when the idea for 49ers Goldmine came up with me and Leo, we were like,
you started it. Like, take credit.
It's all right. You guys know me well enough. I don't like taking credit for shit like that, but I was like, we need women on this platform. 49ers fans deserve women discussing the sport and their team. So, who were two of the smartest people I knew? Angie and Steph. I was like, all right, will they answer to us? Like, hey, we want to do this and this. And you guys are like, hell yeah, let's do it. So I was like, yes, we did it.
Yeah.
I didn't even stop and think, like, do I have time for this? Didn't matter.
In sports, it's needed. You guys spend 73 cents of every dollar. Like, you guys are in this market. Like, come on. You're needed in everything. And when it comes to sports, if you can, convey just a different perspective on everything, hell yeah. And it's not about a guy's looks. Like, bro, I think Fields looks great. You said it. I'm probably the thirstiest guy for Justin Fields. I don't care, right? And then
exactly.
The counter argument is like, if you don't like Jimmy Garoppolo, he must have slept with your wife. Like, come on, guys. Like, stop being stupid. Like, that's just ignorant. Yeah. Women deserve to be in sports. Women have earned the right to be in sports. Women have busted their ass to be in sports. And you two are great job. You helped me out quite a bit. So for guys to be like that, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, I would put Steph and Angie up against a lot of these dudes. And, we've had our film sessions together where we all just watch tape. Like, we literally sit there and like nerds and watch tape, while you guys discuss, while you guys drink White Claws and shit. You know what I mean? So it's that stuff irritates me. I'm always here to back the ladies of just any sport, really. And you guys especially. So I saw that comment. I'm not trying to argue with anybody today. Jesus, take the wheel. Just
I always got time.
Yeah.
No, I think that's why I love working with Steph, not only on the pod, but 49ers Goldmine. Like, dude, she's so like football smart. And I'm just like, I want to be like you. And I think it's cool that we can kind of like use this to show that, girls can do it too, because I feel like it's a very male dominated, especially like the content creator scene on social media and stuff. I feel like it's very male dominated, and so like
sausage fest.
It's a sausage fest. We say it all the time, but yeah, we're so happy. We're just happy to be here, man. We're just happy to be here.
Yeah, there's plenty of room for everybody.
No, I mean, I just wanted to say, like, Javi, thanks for like giving us a platform on 49ers Goldmine to do what we love and talk 49ers football. We fucking love it.
Of course. Thank you guys for being here. Shit, I need both y'all. I need both y'all big time.
Yeah, and we can't wait for the draft. We especially can't wait for season, no matter who is at quarterback. We're going to go so hard. Oh God, I don't want to say that, because if he is, somehow, some way, someone's gonna pull up the clip of me saying, "Nah, no."
Just you specifically.
But we're gonna start going hard during the season with the 49K
Absolutely.
pod weekly. So we're excited. Thank you so much for joining us today, Javi. Seriously,
anytime.
Probably our best episode so far. You're great. You're like, I've said this like 3 times, but just a wealth of knowledge and a prodigy on 49ers Twitter. So thanks, fam.
Thanks, guys.
Anytime.
And you know that.
For 49ers Goldmine, we're going to be having some draft content on day of. I think we're planning to do something for day 1 and 2. So keep an eye out for that. David has his mock draft coming out tomorrow. And
I'm working on some sweet graphics for picks, and
as always with the fire graphics.
I think round table stuff for day 1, day 2. But yeah, we'll keep you guys all posted on that stuff.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to our new YouTube channel, and then also subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can even leave us a review. We would love that too. Tell us how great or how shitty we're doing. So this is the 49K pod, and we are out. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.
Oh my God. And the